I always say, like, fortunately, but unfortunately, cases get opened every single day in America. There are about 3,200 different counties in the United States where these files are getting open day after day after day. So we teach, and what we did when I was operator was systematizing this and coming up with a predictable, repeatable process to locate the information, organize the information, find missing information, to start to reach out. So that's what I meant by, like, the machine. If you can figure out how, what we refer to as how to pull day one probates yourself, so you're not dependent on a list service provider that, you know, gets it a week or weeks or months after it was actually filed, it gives you a competitive advantage, right? You're getting to a fresh source that you own, that you can start to turn on and turn into a lead engine. And then, Jay, if you can provide value, not just the property element, but the probate element too, and help them walk through that, it's a win-win for both.
If you're a real estate investor and are wondering how to raise and leverage private money to make more profit on every deal, then you're in the right place. On Raising Private Money, we'll speak with new and seasoned investors to dissect their deals and extract the best tips and strategies to help you get the money, because the money comes first. Now here's your host, Jay Conner.
What if you could plug into a predictable system that brought you motivated seller leads without chasing, guessing, or burning out? Would you use it? What if you could build a 7-figure pipeline in your real estate business in just a few weeks, not years? And what if the real bottleneck in your business right now isn't the money, but a lack of the right machine? Well, welcome to another episode of Raising Private Money. I'm Jay Conner, the Private Money Authority. And today we're going to flip the script on what we normally talk about here on Raising Private Money. Here's the question. You raise private money, you got all that money. Now, what are you going to do with it, right? So we want to talk about, how do you think about deal flow and systems and scaling? Well, my friend and guest, Andrew Becker, didn't just stumble into real estate success. He started one of the most systemized, high-stakes environments on the planet, working inside the Pentagon, supporting the U.S. Air Force's nuclear enterprise. Translation, he learned very quickly that if the system breaks, everything breaks. He brought that same obsession with systems into real estate. And over the past 13 years, he's built and scaled a high-performance real estate operation from the ground up. But here's where it gets really, really interesting. Andrew now helps real estate investors install what he calls a probate machine, right? The probate engineer, a predictable, repeatable system designed to generate high-intent seller leads very, very fast. He's also the force behind multiple companies focused on simplifying and scaling real estate businesses without all the chaos and moving parts. And on top of that, he hosts a top-ranked business podcast where he's constantly studying what actually works from elite operators in the field. So if you're tired of inconsistent deal flow, tired of guessing where your next deal is going to come from, and you want a real system that produces, you're going to want to lean in on this episode. You're going to meet my friend Andrew Becker right after this. Andrew, welcome to the show.
What's up, Jay? That was the best intro I think I've ever received. So thank you so much for that. That was cool. I liked it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I'm so excited to have you on the show. And you know, one of your niches, probate, is what we're going to drill down on here in this show. And, you know, as I said in the intro, we talk about private money all the time and raising private money without asking for money. And so now we got the money raised. How are you going to find the deals? And, you know, it's a very competitive market out there these days on finding these motivated sellers. And so here you are focusing on probates. Well, you know, there's all different kinds of niches or motivations as to why the owner of a property might want or might be motivated to sell. How is it that you decided to focus for one of your, you know, categories or motivated sellers? How is it that you decided to focus on probates?
Yeah, that's a great question, Jay. So the idea behind, okay, let's get really good at probates came from the 80-20 Pareto principle of where's the bulk of our revenue coming from the 20% of our sources. So long-winded answer, I can simplify it actually, is we looked, once we started collecting data, we got our systems and processes set up to collect data on our lead sources. And then we started to see what was producing and what most importantly was not. So instead of going, a mile wide on our lead sources and an inch deep, we said, let's go a mile deep and an inch wide. And probate was up there, Jay. So probate produced 7 figures for us very consistently. Once we started to look at that, we said, hey, we might have something here. Why don't we just get really, 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 really good at probates? So we learned what probates were all about. We learned how to talk the language of probates, provide value to the personal representative who oversaw the probate file. And then we just got good at a couple of things. In addition to probates, we did PPC, joint ventures, and we had a few letters that produced really well, but probates was always up there.
Well, that certainly makes sense. And you can't beat that business philosophy of focus on what's giving you the most revenue, right? Yeah. Instead of being so spread out. So let's make sure everyone understands that's listening to this episode. What is pre-probate? What is probate? And what on the timeline, what pre-probate or probate are you focusing on? In other words, when does your system kick in place?
Right. So easy. We'll talk about pre-probate, Jay. Pre-probate is when a death flag happens. So somebody passes away, there's a death certificate, there's an obituary, that kind of stuff. That is when there could be a potential for an opportunity, but you just don't know yet. Probate is this is a federal, state, local, county law. So probate is when somebody passes away, they own stuff. They might owe people money. And then whatever is left over after you liquidate the assets to pay off the debts is what gets distributed. But it's the legal process of transferring ownership of real or personal property to the heirs and or beneficiaries, depending on the case. So that is probate at a very high level.
And when does your system kick in as far as reaching out to the heirs?
Yeah. So this is like a to each his own thing kind of, Jay. People out there reach out at pre-probate. I personally, for us and what we did not do that. And we recommend not doing that for a lot of different reasons that we can get into if you'd like. But at a general kind of approach is you don't know that family or the person responsible for the estate is ready yet. Right? They're in an emotional state. Someone passed away. They could have been very close or not, right? But you're not sure. So just because someone passes away and they own property, you're assuming they want to sell it, which I think is a bit of an aggressive approach. When probate gets opened, the first step in a probate file is what's called petition for probate. So an easy way to describe that is when someone passes away and the son, let's say a father passes away and he had one son. The son goes down to their local courthouse and files a petition for probate. That is essentially an application saying, my dad, John Smith, passed away, and I believe I should be the one overseeing his estate. And they open up or apply for probate. And then a case file is created from that action. So in our probate engineers coaching program, that is when in my opinion, Jay, they're saying to the world, we are ready to start closing out the estate of John Smith and going through this process. They don't necessarily know what they're getting into. So there's various different ways that we provide value, and I teach to provide value to that person saying, hey, I should be the one overseeing this. But that at the very first step is when I say, hey, they're actually signaling to everyone that they're going to go through this. So they still might be sad. They still might be emotional, but they're going down to the courthouse. So that's when we say, hey, that is when it becomes public. that's when you should start to reach out and figure out how you can provide value to them and help them through this process that they probably have no idea what they're about to get into.
Right. Well, you refer to your probate engineering system as a probate machine. So what is it about your system that you would refer to it as a machine? And why would you say it's one of the most overlooked opportunities for real estate investors right now?
So I also refer to it as a probate department, I think, just for clarification. But the machine aspect of it is, I always say, like, fortunately, but unfortunately, cases get opened every single day in America. There are about 3,200 different counties in the United States where these files are getting open day after day after day. So we teach, and what we did when I was operator was systematizing this and coming up with a predictable, repeatable process to locate the information, organize the information, find missing information to start to reach out. So that's what I meant by like the machine. If you can figure out how, what we refer to is how to pull day one probates yourself, so you're not dependent on a list service provider that, you know, gets it a week or weeks or months after it was actually filed, it gives you a competitive advantage, right? You're getting to a fresh source that you own, that you can start to turn on and turn into a lead engine. And then, Jay, if you can provide value, not just the property element, but the probate element too, and help them walk through that, it's a win-win for both. So that's what I mean when I talk about a probate machine or probate department here.
That makes sense. Now, a moment ago, you shared that the reason you started drilling down on probates as a very profitable lead source. Why do you think probates are a more profitable lead source, at least for your company, than say direct mail, PPC, and outbound calling and all that other stuff?
Yeah. Well, don't get me wrong, Jay. Like, there was a time when I was overseeing the marketing side when we had 50 to 100 different lead sources. And it was just chaotic. There was a lot going on. We're spending a lot of money. Some were returning okay, some weren't at all. But when we really said, okay, what's working? Probate was on the list, number one. And we got really good at it because we wanted to become, we have a motto in the probate engineers: stop competing, separate. So as we educated ourselves on the probate process and were able to talk the language with someone who was a PR that didn't necessarily know, it led to higher conversions, better conversations, and an easier conversion rate for the probate. So it was not something we did day one. This took a lot of time and a lot of data and a lot of analysis to see what was yielding a result and what wasn't. But that's one of the reasons, because we just got really good. And those in the industry, there's people that know probate, but then there are people that know probate. So one of the things that is super important if you're going to get into probates is to educate yourself on them so you can start to stand out from the crowd. What we did in the past is once upon a time, we purchased a list. We said, hey, PR, I can buy 10 Main Street. I can buy this, I can buy that, or I can list it like everybody else, right? But when we started approaching this from hey, Jay, I understand that you're going through this probate process. I'm so sorry to hear that. Just in case you're not aware of what you're about to go through, let me send you some information on the process. Let me send you some information on the timeline. Oh, by the way, here's a checklist that you can use to start a probate binder because there's going to be a lot of moving parts. Would that be helpful? So we just got it took a different approach, which led to different conversion rates and helped us stand out from the crowd. And there was twofold, Jay. It was number one, we were getting the information from the source of truth or the source record, i.e. the courthouse ourselves, not waiting for someone to get it. We took a proactive approach. And number two, we were approaching the conversations from value of the probate element, walking them through that process, helping them expedite that. And for a win, to create that win-win scenario, it was in our best interest to understand that as well. Because if you were the PR at 10 Main Street and I went under contract with you, Jay, and said, okay, we'll close when it's ready to close, like keep me posted on the probate stuff, I'm not controlling the variable there. So when we started to insert ourselves to control all the variables we were able to, or at least help with, it was a win-win because the PR got the house sold in a timely manner. And then we were able to take our, projected revenue, move it into pending, move it into close. So it created this environment where everyone benefited from it because we understood that at a very high level. And then at a very nuanced level once we became really, really good at it.
Now, who or what is the PR? You've said PR 3 times.
Yeah. Okay. So in a probate case, there is an individual known as the personal representative or PR. In a very high level, in a nutshell, that is the representative from the family. It could be family member. Most of the time it's family, it could be a friend that the court says, hey, Jay, you are appointed the PR for 10 Main Street. That gives you, Jay, legal authority to make decisions, sell stuff, purchase, sell stuff, to liquidate, to pay off the debts, to eventually close out the estate. The PR can be given to you as a title in 2 different ways. You can either be the executor or the administrator. Both are the PR though. Executor just means there was a will, which is called testate. And the person who passed away said, I want Jay to be the executor. You go in when you file and say, hey, I have the will, judge. I believe I should be the representative of this estate. He says, great, I agree. It was notarized. There's no foul play. You are the executor, AKA the PR. You're given letters testamentary. That is your legal document that says you can go and liquidate stuff and write checks out of the bank account to pay off stuff. If there is no will, it's called intestate. So there is no organization. And let's say you're someone passed away and you're the only friend. You go in and say, hey, judge, there's no one left in John Smith's life. I think I should be the PR. Here's why. If no one else contests you, you make your case, and then you're named the administrator and you're given letters of administration. Letters testamentary if you're the executor named in a will, letters of administration if you have to make your case to be ultimately the PR who oversees the estate.
Perfect explanation. Perfect. Now, you started answering my next question, but I want to dive deeper a little bit. So can you break down what's actually happening in the mind of a probate seller? There's property, in the estate. And then more talk about how does that change the way that you and your team approaches them?
Sure. All right. First, I want to talk about just the property element approach. Just like myself and anyone listing, anyone in real estate helps the seller. Forget about probate for a second, Jay. But just like you help a seller, you go in and you talk the language, you make them feel comfortable. They start to know, like, and trust you to sell it or purchase a property from a homeowner. That's one element. We teach to go above and include the probate element as well. So when someone is going through probate, someone passed away and they could be emotional, element of it. So you have to keep that in mind, and you don't approach this from a very aggressive. It's a very nurturing, kind of easy conversation, subtle conversation that you have. It's not very aggressive. Like, I'm going to buy your house. I'm going to sell your house. I'm going to do this. You approach it and say, and so they're emotional. One thing, Jay. Number 2, most Americans buy or sell a house maybe once in their entire lifetime, or maybe never. So just like you, the real estate professional, coach them and walk them through and remove hurdles for the property, we're teaching our students and the people going through the probate engineers how to do the same thing for the probate element. So it's very chaotic. It can be very overwhelming. PRs oftentimes will say, I'm the PR of this estate. What do I do next? And it says, you have to do this, you have to do that. And then, like, I have to go to a courthouse, but the property is in this state and it's in Virginia and I live in California. How am I going to do this? Oh, by the way, I have my own mortgage to pay. I have my own kids. I have a job. I have to oversee this estate and do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different things. Like, how am I going to figure this out? I don't even have time. So it's a very overwhelming, stressful time for them. Keep in mind, there is generally the property that has to get sold as well. And then a lot of other assets that the person owned that needs to get sold, and then creditors need to get notified, and checks need to get written to satisfy the debt. So it's like this crazy process that might not even know or have any clue about. But then, Jay, they get a letter from me saying, hey, I know what you're about to go through. I specialize in this. I can make this very stress-free on you. Here's a couple resources that I think you would find helpful, regardless of whether we work together or not. So we're just trying to calm the chaos and let them know that someone is here to help them through that element, which also the property element gets handled as well naturally. So that's the approach that we teach. That's what the approach that we did when I was in sales, and my team continues to do for them, because they're all over the place. They have no clue what to do, and they're just looking for help, and they truly need the help. And that's a big belief that I have.
So is your first, it sounds like your first outreach to the PR is by a mail piece, mailing them something in the mail, right?
So there's two elements of an approach, and it really is like to each his own as well. Like, what are you comfortable with, Jay? You can cold call them. It's a little bit more aggressive and intrusive, and some people might not like it, just like cold calling in general, right? But it's faster. You get faster results. So once you figure out who the PR is, there's a script, and you say, hey, no, you're going through this. I can help. That's one element. There's also the less aggressive but longer direct mail part. So there's a series of 5, 6, 7 different mail pieces that slowly build up the value that you bring as the individual, the real estate professional, that can help them through again, not only a property element, but the probate element as well. But that takes longer. Or we have a lot of students doing both at the same time. So a hybrid version as well, because sometimes it doesn't land on the phone, or they just don't pick up, but they'll call you if they get your letter. Right. So it's just a combination. It also has to do with your budget. Like, as you compound these probate files and you're mailing 10 and then 100 and then 200 and 300 and 400, and they're on a ladder of 6 or 7, that can start to add up as well. So it's really like, what are you comfortable with? What are you okay with? What do you have the budget to do? But if you do the combination, you're working both.
That makes sense. So at what point, maybe it's the first mail piece, I love the approach, servant's heart, leading with value. At what point in the communication with the PR, at what point do you answer the question that's in their mind, like right off the bat, well, what's in it for you? And why are you reaching out to help me?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you're approaching it from a real estate professional perspective. So let them know it's not something that you're trying to hide, right? You're not going to reach out and just help them for no reason or an obvious reason at first, but say, hey, I specialize in probates in Virginia, wherever you are. I can not only help with that, but I can help liquidate the property as well. And here are the different options that we can talk about. It's also in the script, in the cold calling script, and it's also a part of the letter campaign that we send. So you eventually bring that up. You have to. It just depends. Obviously, we give you tools to model and then modify for how you're comfortable with doing it. But just be straightforward and candid with them and say, I'm a real estate investor and I buy and flip homes. And I'm reaching out to not only help you with this, but if you also want to liquidate the property or sell the property, we can talk about that as well.
That way they're leading the conversation, right?
One other thing, Jay, I want to point out is I teach, and again, this is what you're comfortable with, but addressing the elephant in the room at that first call and or in the first direct mail piece, pretending to not know they're going through probate, in my opinion, again, this is just me, my personal opinion, is not the right way to approach it. So we get out in front of it, and we'll tell them, we know you're going through this, but here's why you want to keep listening to us or keep reading our letters, because we are really trying to help you. And again, even if you're not going to ultimately work with me, Jay, I'm still going to send you a checklist so you can get yourself organized, because you're about to go through it. Again, the idea and our MO and the probate engineers is to stop competing and separate. So everyone else who's getting, the lead lists emailed to them by a list service provider weeks or months later with the same message, I can buy your house, I can list your house, hitting them with that same, right? The 9 out of 10. But we're going to be the 1 out of 10 that says, hey, Jay, I will help you through the process. I will bring in experts, meaning a probate attorney, who, by the way, Jay, will work for free and will get paid on the back end once the file closes. Would that be helpful if you would like a no obligation introduction to my probate attorney, who, by the way, does 90 to 95% of their firm's business in just probate, so they know everything. They've seen everything. So you're creating this value engine. It's real. If not, Jay, you're going to have to go and Google probate attorneys. You're going to have to go and Google probate process. I'm the PR. What do I do next? So we address it right away. We talk about how we can help them right away. And if it's not for them, it's not for them, but it will be for a lot of them.
Well, Andrew, I wish I had gotten a letter from you this past January, a year ago. My mother passed away, and it was a nightmare. It was like, and she had a will. She had a will.
Sorry to hear that, Jay. I'm so sorry.
And I was the executor, and I'm thinking I can do this. Well, I finally wised up after being knee deep in it for about 90 days. And I found an amazing probate attorney who had a paralegal that loves doing all this stuff. And she's been doing it for 30 years. But I can see from the perspective of an executor, a PR, that, I mean, you just don't, when you're in that situation, you don't even know the questions to ask.
Yep. You don't know what you don't know. And that can be the difference, Jay, depending on how, a probate file might be really clean and squeaky clean and close, really have the ability to close faster than a less squeaky clean one. But that can be the difference between closing and settling in a month or two or 4 months or a year or two or never, because you just can't figure it out and you're filing the wrong information and the judge keeps rejecting it and you have no help. So that, you can attest to it because you just went through it. So imagine if you got that letter that said, hey, Jay, I will help you. I'm here for you. I specialize in this. Do you need my help? I'm here to truly provide value. And that also, I just want to be really clear about something. When I work with anyone in the probate engineers, I tell them, if you don't truly believe that you are bringing these people value, then this is not the program for you. You have to have that wholeheartedly inside of your body to say, hey, I'm actually doing Jay a service. I'm actually helping him. I'm not an ambulance chaser, because I know sometimes people can say that, but you're really helping these people. Again, just like someone goes to Google and says, sell my house yesterday, the investment firm is really helping them out of a pickle because they need to sell their house yesterday. So it's the same here.
Exactly. Now, you say that when someone goes through your probate engineering coaching, that they're going to learn how to install a 7-figure probate department in just a few weeks. What are the core components of how that can even be possible? Yeah.
So going back to my bio that you had read, I'm very systems process oriented kind of person. And we playbook and codify and write everything down to leverage other people, systems, technology to do the same predictable, repeatable thing over and over. So all this probate engineer program is my system that I pre-built for our own team that you model as quickly as you can, execute on some of the tactical action items that you actually have to go and do, Jay, is as fast as you can turn this on. Not to say it produces, just to be very clear, it's not going to produce 7 figures in 4 weeks, but the probate department, if you work through our recommended time frame for the program, and it's kind of self-paced, so you can do it as fast or as slow as you want, but the pieces of the department can be built out, set up efficiently and effectively within 4 weeks. And then as you go through and you start getting data back and you start to make more efficient moves and you start to optimize your conversion rates and how you collect this data, then you will create a 7-figure probate department. And sometimes, Jay, once you do that over the long term, it compounds and it turns into this revenue stream. And sometimes it could potentially be the only lead source or one of the only lead sources that you need to power your entire operation, period. What we also teach people towards the end of the program is avoiding that shiny lead object syndrome, right? Saying, okay, well, now we have probate, let's go figure out something else. We actually talk about getting better at your exit strategy options. So keeping that internal. So I can go to you as the PR and say, hey, Jay, I can buy your house in 2 weeks and get this through very quickly, or we can renovate your house on our dime. I also have a team at Sotheby's International Realty. We'll list it, get maximum value. You'll pay us back, and then kind of everything in between. So that is the 7-figure department. If you follow what we've been doing in our own operation for almost a decade now, you model what we have. So you're not starting from scratch. You're getting, tried and true operational playbooks or standard operating procedures. You're modeling it, then you're modifying it for how Jay wants it to look and feel and sound. But you're not starting from scratch. So you're getting almost decade plus expedited education and department implemented into your operation in just 4 weeks if you follow that timeline that we give you.
Well, if you're listening to this episode, we've got the 2 answers for your 2 most important questions as a real estate investor. And the 2 most important questions that you as a real estate investor always ask is, how do I find the deals and where do I get the money? Well, Jay Conner and Andrew Becker has got those answers for you. If you're looking for money for your deals, private money, without ever asking for money, I've got an invitation for you right now. And then Andrew Becker is going to tell you how to get involved in the probate engineering system and coaching. So my next live event, the Private Money Conference, is coming up June 10, 11, and 12 here in 2026 here in Eastern North Carolina, Atlantic Beach. And there's not another event like it on the planet. I promise you, when you get to this event, by the 3rd day, you're going to know how and quickly to raise all the private money you'd ever want. You can check out the upcoming event. Registrations are open right now at www.jconner.com/event. That's jconner.com/event. I'd love to see you in person at the Private Money Conference. Andrew, I'm going to show them how to get the money. You're going to show them how to drill down on getting these probate deals. So how can they learn more about that and get involved with you?
Yeah. So the easiest thing, Jay, is my handle across all my social platforms is I am Andrew Becker. Reach out, DM me. Let's start that conversation. We have a do-it-yourself model, a done-with-you kind of model, and then a done-for-you kind of model. So depending on where you are and what you need help with, we can help you implement this probate department. So reach out and shoot me a message and let's have a talk.
All right. On all the social medias, he's at I am Andrew Becker. That's B as in boy, Becker. I am Andrew Becker. On the social medias, shoot him a DM and you'll be talking with the man himself, Andrew Becker. Andrew, thank you so much for joining me here on the show, Raising Private Money.
Thank you so much for having me, Jay.
All right. I'll be seeing you soon. All right.
Yes,
listen up. Listen up. If you got even one golden takeaway from this episode with Andrew Becker, don't just let it sit in your head. Share this episode right now. Send it to a friend, a partner, anyone who is serious about real estate. And while you're at it, leave a review. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen. Every share, every review puts these systems, these deals into more hands. And that means more people actually making money. This isn't just about listening. It's about taking action. Share it, review it. Get your team on it, grow your network, get the deals. I'm Jay Conner, the Private Money Authority, reminding you your next motivated seller is out there. Make sure you and your friends are the ones finding them. And I'll see you right here on the next episode of Raising Private Money.
Are you feeling inspired by the knowledge you gained in this episode? Then head over to jconner.com/money guide. That's JCONNER.com/money guide and download your free guide that shares 7 reasons why private money will skyrocket your real estate investing business right now. Again, that's jconnor.com/money guide to get your free guide. We'll see you next time on Raising Private Money with Jay Conner.